When I was 25 and a half, I started a podcast. The goal? To review some of the newest and the latest movies, along with some other stuff. With the help of my guests, I was able to do this, but there were dark forces tampering with my podcast, and with me. They called it an improvised podcast for some reason. I eventually found help in the form of myself. Yes, the me from a universe where the movies I reviewed got delayed. Apparently, my podcast made it to his universe. I know now that it is my duty, for the good of that universe, nay, the multiverse, to keep recapping and reviewing these movies, to hold listeners over until they could eventually see the movies as they were made in their world. For some reason, they come out differently in my world, but it's kind of entertaining that way. My name is Steven Shinder, and this is Delayed Replay. Hello, listeners. Welcome to another episode of Delayed Replay, that podcast where we review and recap stuff that came out in our universe but may have been delayed or not come out at all in that other universe. I'm your host, as always, Steven Shinder, and joining me to talk about a Pixar movie that was apparently canceled in that other universe for reasons we'll get into, but it came out in ours like 10 years ago, like summer 2011. It's called Newt. Joining me for this episode, you may have heard her on the Free Guy episode last year. It is Hayley. How's it going?
Hi, Steven. I'm doing all right. How are you?
I'm doing all right as well. I had like a headache in the morning, but thankfully it subsided, so I'm like all good now.
That's good. Yeah, I'm like really tired. I woke up early and I was like, oh, it's just a long day.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm real excited to talk about this.
Yeah.
I guess first off, I want to ask, like, what are your overall thoughts on Pixar movies in general?
In general, obviously they kind of go for like the emotional aspects, I guess, of most things, kind of abstract concepts. So, yeah, overall, I think Pixar movies are pretty enjoyable. I definitely love like I remember watching The Incredibles when I was a kid, and I like love that movie. Yeah, I just like yeah, in general, I think they have like kind of their very own distinct style. When you watch a movie, you're like, oh, this is Pixar, isn't it? And then the little lamp comes up, you're like, oh, yep, there you go.
Yeah, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a YouTube video where I think it's called the Pixar logo, but you're the letter I or
Oh,
something. And so,
yeah, and it's like the top view, yeah.
yeah, like the lamp just jumps on you and it's like really scary.
Yeah, POV, you're the lamp, you're the eye, yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, the Incredibles is pretty good. Like it's a favorite for like many people, how it
Mhm.
deals with like the family dynamic and stuff like that. And I totally agree. Like Pixar does a great job, well, for the most part, like for most of their movies, like really tapping into the always feels like there's a central thesis to each one that connects to like a different sort of message that they're trying to convey, if
Mhm.
that makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Do you have like any other favorite Pixar movies?
Uh, Not off the top of my head, I don't think. It's not one of my favorites, but like one of like the most prominent ones I can think of is like Up, because of the sad music and everything.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
opening sequence.
yeah. Honestly, the rest of that movie, like after the opening part and kind of like, the like first act of the story, the rest is kind of like a little insane when you think about it.
Yeah.
Um, I haven't seen it in like forever, but yeah, I just remember being like, oh yeah, didn't they like wasn't there someone like abducting like dogs or something? I don't really, or they wanted to try to get the bird, and it was like a whole like crazy ordeal. I don't know. That
Yeah.
movie is very strange.
Yeah, like the opening could have been its own short film, and then
Yes.
the rest of the movie is like this wonky comedy adventure thing.
Yeah. It's like shoot, we gotta tack on like another hour and 15 minutes, guys. Quick, let's come up with something.
Yeah, they recently made a like a mini series. I think it's a mini series. I don't know if it's getting more episodes, but it's about the dog Doug. It's called
Oh.
Doug Days. And Yeah, it's cute, I guess. Like it has some funny moments. Like Pixar likes to do. Sometimes they'll do a bit of TV or they'll do these shorts, like we
Hmm.
mentioned. And yeah, just overall, I love how their movies look. They've looked more realistic, like background wise, like over time, and just like really sharp in the images. A couple of my favorites are, I think Toy Story 3 and Wally would be at the top for me.
Yeah, I
And
remember Wally.
yeah, and Soul is a great recent one. Like I love that one.
Yeah,
Um,
I did see that one actually, and I thought it was good. I liked it. Definitely like an emotional roller coaster.
yeah. Yeah, and the music was so good.
Yeah, I love jazz, so that was really cool. Like just listening to it, I was like, oh, nice.
You like jazz?
I like jazz. Oh man, yeah, that was a yeah. DreamWorks were bring back more B movie.
Yeah.
I actually watched that not like super recently, but maybe like a few months ago, or maybe a little longer. But I watched it with one of my friends, and we were just kind of sitting there like eyes wide, like jaws open, like staring, like what the heck is this? Like, were they on crack? Like, what was going on? Like, we watched it, we were like, yeah, we're uncomfortable. This is like this is a weird ass movie. Like, outside of the memes, if you actually sit down and watch it, it's like a fever dream. I had no idea. I'm like, what? I don't know what they were thinking, but okay.
Yeah, I mean it's basically like Ants but with Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Um yeah, but yeah, like it's deserving of the meme status, I
Hmm.
think.
For sure. Yeah.
With Pixar's Newt, so in our universe it came out summer 2011, and
Hmm.
then we got Brave in Christmas of that year,
Yeah.
or December I should say, and then the year after, like summer 2012, is when we got Cars 2. But apparently in that other universe Newt got canceled, so Cars 2 came out summer 2011 and Brave came out the next year.
Huh, that's weird. I wonder why they canceled it. Yeah, I remember going to the theater when it came out and seeing it when when I was like a kid. It was definitely interesting. It was another kind of I thought they were gonna go kind of like the generic route with the story, but that actually kind of surprised me, but I won't get too into the plot yet.
Right, right. Yeah, like apparently, supposedly one of the reasons that it was canceled over there is because of some similarities with that. I keep forgetting if it's called Blue Sky or Sky Blue. The Ice Age studio. They made that movie Rio, which has like a
Hmm.
similar premise. Like
Yeah.
male and female of a species and they're last of their kind.
Hmm.
But I guess in our universe, they kind of found a way to change it up enough so that it's not too similar, and
Hmm.
hence it
Yeah.
came out. I guess I would have been like 16, almost 17 when it came out. But yeah, so the premise is there are these two blue-footed newts, and one is male, voiced by Ben Stiller. And what'd you think of the voice actress they had for the female one? Like it's someone that you said you like recognized, right?
Yeah. Grey Griffin, I love her. She's amazing. Or Grey Delisle, if she goes by different last names, but yeah, really, really good voice actress. Obviously, she's played Daphne. I love Scooby-Doo. And then, Azula and like literally almost every other like cartoon character under the sun. She's just so talented. So I was really happy they brought her on, especially since that like voice actors in general, like voice actors like specifically don't get called to do like the bigger blockbuster movies usually. With like what came out like last year, like with the whole Scoob thing. Like I was angry. It was so unfair to those poor voice actors. But yeah, I was glad they actually brought like, not someone with just kind of like a big name in terms of like immediate public knowledge, or being recognizable in terms of that. So I was happy. I think she did a great job as always.
Yeah, I think so too. And I mean, I've told you before off air, but I really enjoyed the Scoob movie.
Yeah.
But but yeah, I have heard those criticisms of like why didn't they use like the voice actors instead of these
Hmm.
people? And I guess more recently there's kind of a similar controversy with the announcement of the animated Super Mario
The
Brothers.
Mario, yeah. I knew you
Yeah.
were gonna bring that up, yeah. All the Chris Pratt memes.
Yeah, like there are all these memes like saying he's gonna voice everyone now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. But no, yeah, like she did like a really good job. Like Ben Stiller, like he kind of like has his own thing that
Mhm.
is just kind of him, and it doesn't always sound like super impressive, but Gray, it just like breathed life into her character. I guess we should mention their names. So Gray's character is named Lake, and what was the name of Ben Stiller's character again?
Oh, I think it was like something kind of stupid. It was like spots or something.
Yeah, it was Spots. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I was like, okay, yeah, sure, I guess name him off one of the attributes on his skin, but okay.
Yeah, like we open with they're like in this scientist lab, and they're trying to like get them together because they're the last of their kind, and
Mhm.
like they don't like get along right away. They're just like look at each other and like, ew.
Yeah. Gross.
Yeah, like what'd you think of like how they were like arguing with each other in the beginning of this?
Mean, I feel like it was like pretty standard, like it was like, it was on the path to like the enemies to lovers type of trope, which is like fine, but like it's been done a lot already, especially in like these types of movies. So I was happy, like, obviously towards the end of it, I won't say anything about that yet, but I could tell like they would probably be like, friends later on. So I mean that's good at least, but yeah, it was definitely like very kind of tropey, and it was like you could immediately tell you're like, oh yeah, they're gonna fight and then they're gonna get along, and it'll be a happy ending because it is a Pixar movie, I guess. So
Yeah, I don't think, unless I'm forgetting something, like I don't think there's been a Pixar movie with a sad or an ending that's just a downer for everyone
yeah,
involved.
I don't think so either. I think it's been like there probably, there's been like sad things throughout the,
Like
like a loss or
bittersweet.
something. Yeah, but at the very end, it's usually like pretty like, oh well, like if we went through any struggles, it was worth it. Like we did it, guys. So, I don't think there's any like, yeah, down in the dumps type of ending.
Right. So, yeah, like you said, it does start off feeling really familiar. Like we've seen this type of banter and like chemistry like play in other movies. So, yeah, I do think it felt kind of generic at first,
Hmm.
but I was still interested to see like what their adventure would be throughout this movie. And so
Hmm.
they're like basically like, look, I don't like you, you don't like me, but we got to work together to get out of this place so that they
Hmm.
don't try getting us to do what they want us to do type of
Yeah.
thing. Like they're basically like skirting around, like trying to make this like a family movie, so it
Hmm.
can't
Yeah.
get too specific. They try this escape plan where they pretend that they're dead, and like the scientists are like really worried, like they almost like have like they look like they're panicking and gonna have like a heart attack or
Yeah, almost
something.
press that red button, the code red. That was kind of funny.
There was a Pixar Easter egg I noticed here where like they show the buttons and one of them has the number 2319 on it,
Hmm.
and like Monsters Inc. and
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I haven't seen that movie in a long time.
yeah, and like another button has that one classroom that's mentioned in a bunch of Pixar movies, A113, like it was
Hmm.
on another one of those buttons.
Yeah.
Yeah, like Pixar loves putting these Easter eggs in their movies.
Yeah, it's definitely fun to kind of like when you, especially maybe like the first time you don't notice it, but like the second and third time you watch it, you're like, oh, wait a second, that looks familiar. And it's very fun to kind of like pick through. It's like replaying something like a game. It's like replaying a game, and then you like notice things. And you're like, oh wow.
Yeah, or you could just go to some YouTube video that someone put together that's like,
Yeah, like a compilation or something.
yeah, it's like an hour-long discussion or something. So you do like the times two or whatever, just try to
Hmm.
speed run it.
You're like, yeah. Let's just get to the stuff, please.
They're trying to do this protocol, like, they think that these newts are dead, and like I don't know why they didn't use their equipment more thoroughly to see that they're actually still alive. Like this kind of felt like a plot hole to
Yeah.
me. But like did it bother you at all, or
I don't know. I feel like those kinds of cases you can suspend your disbelief for like a little bit because it is like a movie about talking animals, right? And the focus is more on them. I guess like, maybe if they really wanted to cheese it, they could have like, maybe they had like some kind of lizard fact, or I guess they're newts, right? So like kind of like a newt fact, like, oh, they can do this because they're newts or whatever. I think if they maybe if maybe there was like a something earlier in the movie, like before we've seen them, or maybe someone in one of the one of sorry, when the scientists are talking, maybe one of them could have said like, oh, like here are the characteristics of like these like rare almost extinct newts. Oh, did you know they can like hold their breaths for like up to like X amount of minutes or like a really long time or something. um that could have been like a kind of like a maybe like an Easter egg or kind of like a smaller detail. So if like someone, I don't know, like CinemaSins or something was like, oh, this is a plot hole, it could have been like, oh no, there's actually kind of like an explanation hidden over here, you just weren't paying attention or whatever. But it is like a kids film, so I'm not going to be like, there are like, how many plot holes can your movie have before it like drowns in this, and it's like, yeah, it's fine. But I do think if they added that kind of in the beginning when the scientists were talking together, I think that could have added a little bit more for sure. So kind of a bummer they didn't do that, but otherwise it's fine.
yeah, and one of the scientists is voiced by John Ratzenberger, who's in like
Hmm.
every Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, just has such a recognizable voice. So he's like,
Hmm.
I'm thinking the newts look pretty dead here, boss. And
Yeah. had to get him in somewhere.
yeah, it's probably in his contract or something. Like, I kind of wonder, like, obviously he's, I mean, this like kind of sucks to talk about, but obviously he's not going to live forever. Like, every
Yeah.
person is mortal. So I wonder, like, after he passes away, would Pixar just use archived sound bites of his voice and try
Yeah, I was gonna
stitching them
say maybe
together?
maybe they have like a list of like phrases or like sentences like just that don't really have to do with anything. They're just like they could kind of insert them. What if they just made him like voice all of them and then yeah, put it in like like a vault and then bring them back out when they need them. Let his legacy
Yeah.
live on.
Get it now, or it's going back in the Disney vault.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
they try to dispose of these newts, and what'd you think of how they're like their escape sequence?
I definitely thought it was fun. Like I liked the kind of like the music that they played, kind of like a Mission Impossible-esque type of type of deal. It definitely was kind of funny how they added because when they're smaller, right? They're just little newts. So I like how they added like sometimes when they're going like through the vents and eventually like maybe through like the sewers and stuff like that. They added kind of like little contraptions that it's like, oh no, like watch out for that, and but they're like tinier versions of like what we would have to deal with. I don't know, I just thought it was kind of funny. um
Yeah, it's like really ridiculous how much security there is for these like tight spaces at this
yeah.
land. And yeah, I totally got that Mission Impossible feel. Like, it's easier to pick out after I've like recently gone through all the movies
Hmm.
of that series. And yeah, it definitely feels like very overt, like kind of spy movie music type of thing
Yes.
during the sequence. There's like these funny, that they kind of realize that in order to avoid these obstacles, they kind of have to dance their way through.
Hmm.
And so it's kind of like this reluctant waltzing and salsa dancing thing that I thought was kind of funny.
Yeah, and they like of course they like argue the whole time, refusing to
Yeah.
look at each other just at the path ahead. So I was like, good touch.
Yeah. Yeah, like the arguing at the beginning of the movie does get really annoying. So like for
Yeah.
me it's more of a relief when like they eventually like sort of lighten up and see eye to eye a bit more,
Yeah, they got to work together in order to escape the facility.
And so once they like get out, they're trying to figure out like where the hell are they gonna go.
Hmm.
They walk around this city that they're in, and they like sort of eavesdrop, but like it's kind of weird. I guess they understand humans, like they understand like English at least. And
Hmm.
I don't know, what'd you feel about that choice for this movie?
Well, I kind of feel like that's also kind of a standard for like those, those like talking animal type of movies. Um Obviously it can be a lot funnier when they don't do that, because it's like, what are they saying with the obvious like language barrier, but I don't know, I guess maybe they picked it up from the scientists in the lab. Watch me just trying to explain all the very minor plot holes. But like I said, it doesn't really bother me, it was mostly just kind of like a kid's film. It was just like, yeah, whatever. You're mostly there for the, for the ride. You're not there to write a dissertation, or at least I hope you don't. Otherwise, I don't know what you're
Right.
doing with your life.
Well, like they're at this outdoor patio at some restaurant,
Hmm.
and they overhear a couple people talking about like some expedition that they're gonna go on. And I guess like I can't remember if it was Spots or Lake who said it, but like one of them was like, "Hey, expedition, isn't that like what one of the scientists said they went on in order to find each of us?"
Hmm.
And so like the location that this group of people are planning on going to is called it's Mount Everest, but these nudes don't know what they're in for. So they try following these people, like clinging onto one of their motorcycles, and
Hmm.
like this was like really it really made me nervous seeing them like hanging off of the motorcycle while there's
Yeah.
lots of like high speed traffic.
The little tiny hands, and it's like I was like, so I was convinced. I was like, they're gonna fall off or somehow they're gonna like bounce off the side of the road or something, and then they're gonna have to walk all the way there. But no, they were able to get up like a good distance. So I was like, phew, at least they don't have to deal with that. But yeah, I was like really nervous at first. I was like, oh no, they're tiny little hands. They're not gonna be able to cling on.
Yeah, definitely. Like there are moments where they kept like bouncing onto like other vehicles, and so they would have to try to find a way to like basically like it's like hopping from one platform to another in order to like
Hmm.
go forward. It felt kind of like a video game to me, actually.
Yeah, very like a platformer-esque kind of scene. I thought that, yeah, that was definitely interesting. It was entertaining too, with the whole action. They seem to be leaning in like to some good action scenes. So that was, that was good. You don't want everything to be like super slow.
Yeah, and during this sequence, like there's actually like if you look in the background, like on this highway, there's a car that looks very much like Mater from Cars, but without the eyes and mouth, because that'd be
Oh, I didn't notice that. Okay, I'll have to go back and rewatch it again.
yeah, and thankfully it's without the face, because that would look creepy as hell
That
in
would be
this
very
movie.
terrifying. Yeah.
Okay, so they follow like this group that we mentioned. They get on their flight because they're like going to whatever city it is they land in before they have to like hike to Mount Everest. During this flight, Spots and Lake are sort of talking about like the different places that they each grew up in before ending up in the lab, and like about how they each like lost their families and whatnot and became the only ones. Like, what did you think of this conversation?
I thought I liked it. I think it was well done. It's definitely good to show good or healthy forms of like communication, and making sure that, someone that you kind of disagree with, or, don't see eye to eye with initially, you can kind of be empathetic and kind of understand where they're coming from. And I think it definitely helped that they kind of came from like a similar like circumstance where they both kind of lost their family, and they're like, oh, okay, cool, we're the only ones left. But yeah, I think it was well done overall. They definitely seem to be, at that point becoming more like actual kind of friends.
And there's actually like a moment in like in each of their flashbacks to when it showed them as like baby newts in their respective environments. Like it felt to me like that scene in have you ever watched the first Ice Age movie?
Like a very, very long time ago. So I don't remember. That's the one with like the baby, right? And they have to try to get the
Yeah.
baby next to, yeah, I haven't seen that in like a very long time, but
Yeah.
I have seen it at some point.
Okay, yeah, like it reminded me of that a bit because, or I guess also kind of like the beginning of Finding Nemo, how
Oh yeah.
it's implied like how they lose their families. Like one of them loses them to quicksand, another one loses them to like some sort of like predator in the jungle or something, and it's like implied and not showed explicitly, but still pretty dark for like this type of. I mean, Pixar's done it before, but it's
Hmm.
amazing how they're able to inject this kind of dark stuff into these movies.
Yeah, they're like trauma with glitter around it.
Glitter is in itself trauma for me. Like it just gets everywhere and it's hard to like
It
get
never,
off.
yeah, like trauma, it never fully leaves you.
Oh gosh. Yeah, we just discovered like a one-to-one connection between glitter and trauma right now.
Yeah, that's our hot take for this this episode.
Yeah. This is a long flight, so they're getting like really hungry. And that's when they try to break into like, the place on the plane where
Mhm.
they have all the food. What did you think of this scene?
I mean, I guess it was kind of like kind of more like a filler, you know. I think it was definitely there to be more comedic than push the plot forward for sure. I guess it was entertaining to watch, but in the end, it's kind of like, well, that did that really like did that do anything? Did we see any character development from it? Not really. It was mostly just kind of play up for comedy. But like I said before, this is gonna be the running gag. I guess they have to keep the kids entertained somehow, but it sucks for the newts though, because airplane food isn't that great. So
Yeah. Well,
no
like
shade to airplanes, but I'm just saying.
yeah, like once they bit into some of this airline food, like their entire bodies like turned green
Hmm.
and they're like, "Whoa, I didn't know we could do that."
Yeah, it was definitely a better than nothing kind of situation.
What's weird is even though this came out a few years after Ratatouille,
Hmm.
the food didn't look as visually good to me, but I kind of wonder if that's because it's not supposed to because it's airline food type of thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I mean, my thought was that maybe like it wasn't like a big focus, of the movie. Like obviously with Ratatouille, like the whole movie is about like food and making food and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't think Pixar usually doesn't like skimp out on details. So, I mean, it was probably along something along your kind of thought process where they were like, well, it's supposed to look gross because it is.
So they make it to their destination, and again, they keep following these humans on their hike. And once they're climbing Mount Everest, the two newts that we've been following, they're like, "Wait a minute, this place is freezing," and like
Yeah.
it sucks for them because they're cold blooded.
Hmm. Yeah, definitely like this is where they found us. Hmm. Yeah, it was kind of funny though. They kind of like because they're still following the humans for the most part, trying to hide in their backpacks. And I think at one point they like, yeah, they like they kind of like just rip part like just a tiny piece of one of the humans like scarves off and just use that as like little blankets.
Yeah, like there's a moment where they're trying to fight over who gets to use it, and it's sort of a tug of war type of thing, but
Hmm.
then simultaneously they each decide to be the better person, I guess you could say, and like offer it to each other, and then like if they like sort of argue about who gets to use it, as in no, you use it, no, you use it, and it's like this 1 minute back and forth that's
Hmm.
just endless, I guess.
I think at
But
one point, don't they like because after they kind of like can see they're like, okay, well maybe we'll just give it to the other person. I think before that they like rip it in half, don't they? And they're like, well, I guess we each have our own thing now, and they just kind of like sit together and try to put the pieces back.
I vaguely remember hearing someone talk about how like them trying to put the pieces back together is symbolic of them trying to like connect, and like it was like this really long Facebook post I saw a long time ago, and I remember thinking this person is like thinking way too deeply about this one moment. It's like
Yeah.
super obvious.
You're like, okay, maybe dial it back down a bit.
Yeah, what'd you think of the direction that they went from here?
I definitely thought it was interesting because, eventually there was like a snowstorm that hit, which also was very kind of like stress inducing. Like, I mean, it's gonna be okay at the end, but it's also like it's like, oh no, one of the newts, I think it was Lake, she falls off the backpack of one of them, and then Spots has to climb out and go after her. And then at that point, within the snowstorm, they've lost the humans, so they're like, ah, okay, well now we're on our own. And, that obviously leads to like more arguing, and it's like, okay. But yeah, I mean, I think they were, obviously they were able to kind of find their way, back up the mountain and like find like a small kind of like little cove for the night, so shelter and everything. But I was like, oh, that's unfortunate, but just got to do it to them, I guess.
They're not sure like how much longer they have like in this weather, so they
Hmm.
stay overnight, try to make camp. They eventually like figure out how to make like a little fire for themselves. Like I guess like one of them was like clinging onto a pencil in the backpack when
Hmm.
they were trying not to fall out, and so they have it here and it's broken in half, and they use that to like make a little fire.
Which is pretty smart of them. I was like, okay, big brain time. See what you did there.
Big brain time.
Big brain time.
Yeah, Jimmy Newt Tron.
Yeah.
Brain
Nice.
blast. Yeah, so they spent the night at like trying not to die, I guess.
Yeah. To
uh,
put it lightly.
yeah, well, like they try to like take turns keeping watch and making sure like that their shelter doesn't like collapse or whatever.
Hmm.
And so like after spending the night at this place, they're trying to figure out their next move. And that's when like the wind like blows Spots away, and like he starts using like the piece of scarf as like a snowboard, and it's like Lake has to go after him.
Hmm. Another just like action scene where they're like, anyways. um, but yeah, that was definitely, I mean, he owned it, he was like, well, this can't get any worse. I might as well ride down this hill in style.
They go down like pretty far, don't they?
Yeah. Pretty much like I think it's like even like a little bit more than like halfway from what the top point that they had reached, and they travel back down. It's like, yeah, they go down quite a bit, which is like, yeah, that sucks. But yeah, they were able to kind of get up, and I think they kind of sat down and had try to figure out like a new game plan too. Try to figure out, like what exactly are we looking for.
Yeah, like they know that this mountain isn't the ideal environment for them. They know that they need a way like to get down, like to get to like their own like ideal environment. And that's when they notice like there's like another plane flying by. Like it's obviously not like an airport, like large type of
Hmm.
plane, but it's like one of those like planes that people would use to go adventuring or whatever.
Yeah. Like the smaller planes, yeah, Indiana Jones style.
Yeah, that was exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Lake is like saying how they need to like jump onto that, and Spots is like, "Are you crazy?" And
Yeah. Gotta have one of those though. Are you insane? Are you crazy? We can't do that. And it's like, watch me.
yeah, and like she makes like a really compelling argument of like either way we're gonna die, but here we like this way we have a shot at living.
Yeah.
And it just reminded me so much of one of those themes in that movie Wall-E, where one of the characters is like, I don't want to survive, I want to live. And so
Hmm.
I really liked how they injected a bit of that in here.
Yeah. recycle some material. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
But
no,
yeah, no.
Pixar is lacking in creativity just all around.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, just obviously everything's the same, it's like those live action remakes.
Yeah. Live action Newt when
Yeah.
no, but Spots decides that he should trust Lake, and so he's like, okay, I will trust you on this. And it's like such a heartwarming moment to like
Hmm.
sing, like I guess like because they've been through all these dangers together, like obviously they're used to each other now.
Hmm.
But it's still like nice to see him like make the leap,
Yeah.
and lo and behold they're able to cling onto that plane.
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely thought it was like definitely like, a moment that really kind of solidified them as being like, okay, I can trust you now. We're friends. We've been on like an adventure together. We're gonna get to our destination that we want to, and we're gonna go together. So that was nice.
Yeah, this person on this adventure plane, they end up flying into this nearby town. Like I guess it's like somewhere in this like south. I guess it would be like Southwest Asia. Like it'd be somewhere around there, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think yeah, somewhere around there, I think. I know they showed I think they showed the map too, also kind of Indiana Jones style, where it's like the
Yeah,
red
yeah,
line that kind of travels. And yeah, I think it was somewhere in that area. Maybe like India, I think.
yeah. I think it was India.
Okay, yeah,
Um,
yeah,
yeah, like they land in some town in India, and they follow this person who goes to like this toy store, and so they have like a look around, and I mean, if it's a toy store, there are obviously like some Toy Story Easter eggs.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure. Like that was obvious. Like
yeah, like
those ones I did notice, yeah.
yeah, which ones did you notice?
I saw Jesse in like one of the top shelves up there. And I think it was also oh yeah, one of like the toy aliens, because those are obviously very cultural significance for the Toy Story series. But those are the two I saw. There might have been more, but those were the ones I just saw like immediately.
Like I didn't see those ones until I read up on the Easter eggs sometime later on. I almost said Easter legs, like that doesn't make sense. But I remember the one I noticed immediately when I watched the movie in the theater back in the day
Mhm.
was the evil Emperor Zurg toy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it just like sticks out because of the purple, I guess.
Yeah, a true king.
Yeah. but then they like notice like this shelf that has like these toys that look like them basically, and so they're like
Mhm.
really excited, and they go over to them and they're like, wait, these are just toys. And it's like really sad because it for a moment they thought that they weren't alone anymore type of thing, and it's like
Yeah, and it was just like, oh nope, they're just like mannequins essentially. Yeah, it was very sad because it's like, oh man, do we find other people like us and maybe we can, stay here and belong with them? And it's like it's not real.
yeah, and they have this like philosophical discussion of like if none of this is real then what's the point. But
Yeah.
then but then like they continue and being like what's real is the journey that we make for ourselves.
Hmm.
And it's like, oh, that's like really profound for this kids movie. Like
Yeah.
and so they try to like get it back together, and they start like hitching rides throughout the town so they can get back in the wilderness,
Hmm.
look for some other environment that's suitable for them. Like what'd you think of this part of the movie?
I liked it. I liked the it was kind of I like montages, so I don't know, they're just a lot of fun. So I liked seeing like them kind of hitching a ride on one of the back of one of the kind of like a Jeep, I guess I think it was. And just kind of seeing the different like city sites, like it was them kind of like sitting together and like pointing out different things like, oh look at that over there. And then eventually, when they go into kind of more of the wilderness part, more of the jungle, you see like they're there like looking up the sky and like the trees go by. I don't know, it was just I liked it. I mean, but I like the montages, so I'm like probably biased, but And I like the music they played too. It was like the generic like, oh, like this is a happy montage type of thing. But I don't know, it kind of like sold the whole experience.
Yeah, and when they get to this jungle, like I don't know how accurate this is to like animals of the area, but
Hmm.
they meet a chimpanzee who's played by William Shatner,
Yeah.
um, Captain Kirk himself,
Yeah.
and he's basically like I guess he's even more comic relief here, like
Yeah.
compared to them, and saying, "Oh, since you two are together, then you need to be together." And then he winks, and it's like super cringe.
Yeah, and they just kind of look at each other like what the heck? Like like kind of like the you know the one like Muppet gif where it's like the monkey with the side eye.
Oh, wait, that's from Muppets? Like
I
that's
well,
where
I think it's a Muppet. I don't know, but it's a puppet at least. But I think it was from like one of the Muppet shows. But yeah, that's just what I thought of immediately.
Okay, yeah, I never knew where that GIF is from, but
I'm pretty sure it's from Muppets, but if not, it's at least it's very obviously like a puppet at the very least. So
okay, yeah, but I know which one you're talking about.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Just earlier today, I shared one with a few friends. Like I found one that said you can tell everything you need to know about a person by whether they think GG stands for Gilmore Girls or Gossip Girl. And it shows the side-eye monkey images and it says me who thinks it stands for good game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that would have been my first thought too.
I mean, that's just how I've heard my brother and friends use GG for like good game. Like I've never I mean, to be fair, I don't even watch either of those shows, but I've never
Same.
like heard anyone say GG in reference to either of those shows.
Yeah, neither have I. I think it's just like it probably just depends on like what circle of media you consume, you know? But yeah, that was it's pretty funny.
The circle of
Of one.
media. There's like another Easter egg. Like you when it shows insects in this jungle, there's a caterpillar that looks a lot like Heimlich from A Bug's Life.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I noticed him. I like I remember when I was in the theater, I like actually I like pointed and then realizing, the theater is like all dark inside. I was like, oh yeah, no one could see me pointing. I just put my finger down. But yeah, no, 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 yeah, I did see that one and I was like, oh nice. Something I recognize.
yeah. Yeah, like I don't know if it's supposed to literally be Heimlich because I mean at the end of A Bug's Life he gets butterfly wings, right? But they're so
Yeah.
small that like you can't really see them that well. So like I don't know if this is supposed to be him or another caterpillar that looks like him, but
Yeah.
it's a funny little
It's
reference.
like it's part of his prequel movie, Pixar When.
Yeah, I guess that would depend on like what year each of these movies take place. Like
Yeah.
for some of these movies, it's kind of ambiguous when some of them take place. So
Hmm.
like for Incredibles, you can tell it's supposed to be the 60s. For the Toy Story movies, you can kind of tell roughly when they're set based on like a license plate or something
Yeah.
or like they even mentioned the year 1995 in one of those movies, but
Hmm.
yeah, it's I guess in some of these movies they try to keep things as timeless as possible, which is why we don't see like smartphones that often, at least not to my recollection.
Yeah. Unlike some movies like cough cough, the emoji movie, cough cough.
I knew that was the one you were going to mention.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I prefer not to have movies that are just like, a 2 hour long ad. No, thank you.
Right, yeah. I think we even like mentioned the Emoji Movie last time you were on
I
here.
think so. Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, well, like talking
It's so
about
prevalent to our culture.
yeah, like how it's basically just it has all the things that the Lego Movie, Inside Out, and Wreck-It Ralph explored, and puts them in one movie, but doesn't do any of those as well.
Hmm.
Somehow, it's weird. But yeah, they continue on through this jungle, and like they meet like some other animals around there. Like there's Like again, I don't know how accurate this is to like the geography, but there's like a crocodile voiced by Dabney Coleman.
Hmm.
I thought that one was pretty funny. Like they're basically making some new friends in this jungle,
Yeah.
which yeah, like it's kind of refreshing for them, right?
Yeah, it's like, okay, like, obviously they've gotten, obviously more friendly with one another, but now they're actually, being able to talk to other people outside. It's like, oh, okay, cool. There is a life outside the lab besides like, the humans and maybe some of the other animals that were in the lab. So yeah, it's definitely nice to kind of see them interact with all the other people. It is funny though, like all the animals that appeared are like your standard like what's a jungle animal? And it's like quick write
Yeah.
that down. And then there was like kind of like, just your standard jungle animal. Like I know there was a snake at one point too, like a friendly snake, obviously, but like just like the generic like kind of like Jungle Book vibes a little bit. There's like the snake,
Yeah.
the crocodile, and then so yeah, that's kind of fun. I don't probably wasn't on purpose, but like yeah, it was just very much like yeah, what jungle animal check.
Yeah, what's weird about the snake is that to me it looks like it's made of Play-Doh,
Yeah.
which is weird because that's kind of an aesthetic that they would later use for The Good Dinosaur.
Hmm. Yeah, maybe they were, testing that they made like a separate engine just for the snake and then it's used it later.
Yeah, and then like very few people enjoyed The Good Dinosaur, so figures.
Yeah.
Well, like that's a movie where the backgrounds look really good, but the design of the dinosaurs just doesn't mesh very well. And
Yeah, I never saw it, but I remember seeing like, promos of it and everything. And it kind of gave me like the the Sonic the Hedgehog movie, like when everyone bullied the company to redo the animation.
they should have used the original Sonic trailer design. Hot take.
Yeah. Um, but no, like it definitely looks like, yeah, like in comparison to the backgrounds and everything, I don't know, it looks like unfinished, I guess, but or just yeah, like just a very like it belonged in a different movie, like with a different textured background and stuff like that. So I was like, that's kind of a strange, you know. Oh, it kind of gave me Wallace and Gromit vibes a little bit. The dinosaur.
Yeah, like how it's like claymation.
Yeah, like I don't know, it kind of gave me those like that in terms of like how it was, animated and whatnot.
I've probably mentioned this on the podcast before, but there's this video. I think it was in some TV show, like it was a sketch where it was basically like live action Wallace and Gromit, and I guess like these people were wearing like Wallace and Gromit suits, and it looked really creepy.
Oh no, no thank you.
I do think that maybe they could have done a bit more research with like these jungle animals. Or maybe I'm just
Yeah.
not that knowledgeable about this jungle in this area, but it did feel really generic, some of these like animals that they used.
Hmm. Yeah,
Um,
and like some of the colorations too. Like they made the snake like kind of like a lavender color, which is like, it's a nice color, but I was like, I don't know how accurate that is.
right, yeah. And while they're like looking for a place to settle in this jungle, they ask each other, I know we're like the last of our species, but do we really belong as a couple or would we be forcing it? Because that's
Hmm.
basically what the scientists were trying to do, and they're like not so sure that they feel those feelings.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely like yeah, because that was like definitely one of the more kind of well, yeah, one of the more climactic kind of parts of the movie where they had like sit down and have like this serious discussion. And I really appreciated it that like they kind of were like, let's just stay friends for right now. There's no point in like trying to force something that we don't feel. And if it happens later, that's good. But yeah, that was like one of the things that I really liked about this movie. Instead of going like the generic, like, oh, like they're forced to be together and they hate each other, but then at the end they actually get together. It was more of like a, because it's like what do you think about it? Those movies, like the premises in general are very weird, where it's like, okay, it's like you you know the one meme where it's like now kiss and it takes
Yeah.
the two characters. Yeah, so I thought it was very much going to be like that, but no, I appreciated that they were like, no, let's just stay friends, and like if we don't get together, that's fine. Because it's not like if they wanted to keep existing, it'd be kind of more for the benefit of like the humans, right? Because the humans are like, oh no, we don't want this species to go extinct, but ultimately it is up to them because they are the species.
Yeah, I mean, this like really feels like a story I've had in mind for a while. Like, they basically say that like just because they're the last of their species does not mean that they have the responsibility to perpetuate their species. Like they
Hmm.
like this is really a subversion of what we're used to. Like they really get down to thinking about it and come to the conclusion that like not every species lives forever, and if it's our destiny to be the last of our kind, then so be it. Like we don't need to force any romance if we're
Hmm.
not feeling it, because that's like that's not romance at all. And
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, and like they're basically accepting that they are the end of their species, at least at this time, and so they're like I was just like really blown away by how mature of a discussion this was. Like I remember when I watched this in the theater and I was like walking out, like there were like some kids who were kind of upset that they didn't get together, but
Yeah.
I like to think that over time maybe those kids like grown older probably came to appreciate that decision that they made like even more, because it's like
Hmm.
you don't have to follow that destiny with that exact person if you don't want to. Like
Yeah.
yeah, like oh man, I'm just getting like choked up thinking about how they handled like the subject matter,
Hmm. Yeah, I definitely thought it was well done for sure, especially since the media is already like pretty saturated with those types of things. Like usually, if there's like a male and female character, like they usually always end up together, and I'm like, but there's like, stop, no, there's no chemistry. It doesn't need to happen. Stop trying to force it. Like I want to go over and like just slap the director's face and be like, no, no, don't do that. Unless they have that in mind. But I don't want characters just going together because they're like, well, that's what people expect. It's very dumb.
Yeah, like we mentioned Rio earlier, the one with the birds, and from what I remember, that one went the generic route.
It did,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, and I was thinking about this recently, how like Rio wasn't even the first movie from that studio to try like the we're the last of our kind, we should get together thing. Like
Hmm.
Ice Age 2, The Meltdown, kind of tried that when Manny the mammoth meets Ellie, like a female mammoth, and
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, like he thinks that they're the last of their kind and that therefore they should get together, and she's really put off by it, like just for that reason. And
Hmm.
I guess spoilers for a movie that's like 15 years old, but
Yeah.
at the end of the movie they discover that they're not the last of their kind after all. Like they see that there's a giant herd of mammoths still, and so they're like, I guess we don't have to get together. But then like as Ellie is walking away, Manny is like, Ellie, I don't want to get together because we have to. I want to get together because I want to. And like she's
Hmm.
really touched by it. And I guess that's kind of a better way of doing it than Rio did.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's good to have something as refreshing as what Newt did.
Hmm.
They Lake and Spots, they consider each other like their best friends, but they don't have to like force anything.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess like as another fun fact, going back to the snake, I like how they named him Noodle.
Oh yeah.
I don't know, that was just very funny to me. But I think yeah, overall it was definitely like a well put together movie. I mean, Pixar doesn't I don't think Pixar has made like an objectively bad movie.
Cars 2.
Um
Wait,
oh,
what?
okay. Well, besides that besides that one, I didn't say I said they haven't made a bad movie because I like immediately just forgot about that one. So My mistake.
Good. I also like that for the end credits, they did the thing that like very few Pixar movies do anymore, which is they included like outtakes as if the characters in the movies are actors.
I love those types of credits. I remember like the old Barbie movies used to do that too.
Oh
And
yeah.
they were so funny. Yeah. So I wish they did that more nowadays too, I guess, but it's like, oh, it costs more money or whatever, it's like, come on, guys. Just give the people what they want.
Yeah, and in one of the outtakes, it shows them going up Mount Everest, and then the camera zooms out and shows the abominable snowman from
Yeah.
Monsters Inc. He's like, "Welcome to the Himalayas."
Yeah.
Were there any outtakes that you liked from like these credits?
The one where it's like it went back to that spy kind of Mission Impossible as escape from the facility, and like during the like the waltz kind of scene where they have to dance to get around some of the traps. They like keep stepping on each other's like feet, and they're like, oh sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's also the one where they take a bite out of the airline food and you hear the like behind the scenes people being like, and cut, and then Lake and Spots are like complaining. They're like, seriously, how many takes of this do we need to do? Like, this food is killing us, literally.
Yeah, like deadpan expression, like, please make it stop.
I also loved the one where William Shatner's chimpanzee character is like bragging to some other chimpanzee about having been to space, and it's obviously a Star Trek reference.
Yeah, obviously. One of the ones when they're the montage from earlier before they get to the wilderness, they're like sitting on the back of that Jeep.
Yeah.
And they they hit like a really big bump by accident, and Lake goes like flying off the back of the car, and they're like, and then Spots is like, try not to laugh, and then ends up laughing, and they're like, okay, cut.
Yeah, you get like the marker, like the clapping board thing, like in front of the camera. So like, what are your final thoughts and score for this movie?
I would say probably maybe like an 8 out of 10 lizard tails. I know they're newts, but like, so it kind of counts.
Yeah.
Yeah, just for like, especially like kind of like subverting the like already long drawn out trope of like, oh, both, like, you have to get together, and then they do, and it's like, but this one they didn't. So I really appreciated that. Obviously there were some things like the whole like food scene, it was like that wasn't like really necessary. It was just kind of like filler, kind of felt like padding time a little bit. And then obviously some of the I guess like the quote unquote like plot holes in the beginning, like I said, I'm like really hung up. I feel like they really should have added like a line that they were like, oh yeah, they can hold their breath for like a really long time or like X amount of minutes. I just like, I don't know, I feel like that would have definitely kind of made it more sense in like a logical way. I don't know, but yeah, overall I enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'm along the same line of thinking. Like it's really great the way it subverted expectations and tries to tell a different type of story. So in a way it's innovative. I will say there are other Pixar movies I prefer over this one, but there are also others that I think this one is better than. I was trying to figure out like the right wording for that, and I think I accomplished it. So yeah, I would say that for me, I would give Pixar's Newt 8.25 out of 10 scarf pieces.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that'll do it for Newt. Like that's the last topic for November, so I guess we could consider this Newt-vember.
Jeez.
Okay, yeah, that was a dumb joke.
Boo. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know I'm terrible, but thanks for being on this episode.
Yeah,
Hayley.
thanks for having me.
Where can people find your stuff?
I only have an Instagram, so I do like cosplay on there. If you want to, you can follow me at dancing_dinos.delirium. I almost said .com, but it's not a website. It's just an Instagram account. So yeah, I'm there. I don't post too often, but every once in a blue moon, I'll be like, hey guys, I'm doing a new project, and then forget about it and then do another project. I have like 20 projects in the works right now. It's a bit of a mess. Literally announced I was like thinking about doing another new one today, and I'm like, oops.
I'll link that in the show notes as usual. And whenever I see like that you're working on something, I'm like always impressed because like I would not have the patience for like any of it personally. Like I would just like part of it is that I'm not very good at crafting stuff like that.
Yeah, it
So
definitely takes
yeah.
practice, that's for sure. And yeah, I like often like yeah, there are some definitely like hurdles. Like I was trying to finish a cosplay for a convention that I'm going to like next month if all things go well. But yeah, the fabric, I needed like 2 more yards of like this one fabric to finish up the skirt. And I went to the store to get some more fabric. I just needed 2 more yards, and they discontinued the fabric. So I was like, no. So I had to like frantically search online to find like a replacement. It's supposed to come tomorrow, so hopefully it is like it looks the same. But I was very salty afterwards. I was like, are you kidding me?
Hashtag the struggle.
Yeah, literally.
But yeah, people can go ahead and check out Hayley's cosplays on Instagram. And as for my plugs, you can follow me at Steven Shinder on Instagram and Twitter, Steven Shinder Storytelling on Facebook. You can go to stevenshinder.com for info on my novel Lemons Will Like Rain. And I know I keep saying this like every time in recent episodes, but I'm making more progress revising the second book. So close to being done. There will be news on that when it's ready within the next I don't want to provide specific amounts, so just keep an eye out. And I also do a podcast with my dad called Yes Shift, where we talk about the progressive rock band Yes. You can find that at anchor.fm/yes shift. And if you want to email Delayed Replay, you can email delayedreplaypodcast@gmail.com. Send in your thoughts on animation or something.
Mhm.
And we might read your thoughts on the show. So yeah, I guess I'll do it. That's the episode on Pixar's Newt. And the next episode will be on the new Dungeons and Dragons movie. But without further delay, have a good day.